My name is Valerie Holm. I'm a member of Clarksburg Baptist Church. I guess I can tell you that my dad is David Holm. I hope that name is a good thing here. No. Good, no. I'm very proud to be here. This Leadership Academy is great. Janie Carrico and Rosemary asked me to come speak, and I went back to look on the YouTube channel of people who have spoken, and I'm humbled to be following everyone who has spoken so far. So thank you again for having me. Today I want to talk a little bit about communications, and we've heard it said that it is kind of a scary word, but I don't want it to be. And we all come from different areas of life, different capabilities, different resources. So I'm by no means is this everything you need to know about it, or this is just kind of a starting point, I hope, for all of us. Can you hit that one more time? Some of you may feel like this when dealing with technology. So I don't want that to be the case today. I'm not hopefully talking about anything that's intimidating. Again, just the basics that I think that we can all use to benefit us, to benefit our churches, to benefit our ABW groups, our small groups, any whatever leadership that you're in. I want to focus on 4 things, some more in depth than others, but social media, text messaging, announcements, and webinars and Bible studies. The first thing is social media, and these are just some statistics. I'm not going to bore you with 100 statistics, but I thought that these were interesting. 2.8 billion people were using social media in 2016, and that's up 21% from the year before. Social media use on mobile, so anything that people check on their smartphones, iPads, things like that, in 2016 was up 21%. Up 2.5 billion users globally, which is 91% of all users, and 83% of Americans have a social media account. So why is this important? As leaders in the church, in our communities, whatever capacity, this is a lot of people, and we have a story that we can reach them with. So this is a great opportunity. Communication, I want to kind of maybe not use that word and talk about storytelling, which I think is the most powerful form of communication. I think as followers of Christ and as the church, and I hope that you agree that we have the greatest story to tell anyone. And as you saw in those numbers, we have a lot of people that we could be telling that story to. Now, I don't expect you to go home and tell 2.8 billion people that, about your church or ministry, but we definitely have our areas of influence. So these are just a few things about storytelling. It creates a shared experience. I think when you're telling stories with people that you can find some commonality and you share something. The goal of storytelling isn't just to explain facts, but to share those experiences. And when you're telling a story, especially through social media, people can choose to enter the story at whatever level is comfortable for them. And it's the most inclusive form of communication, so anyone can be included in these stories. So how do we tell our story? This might look different for everybody. And again, I'm kind of going to talk about and show some visuals from things we do at our church. But that doesn't mean that you need to do these or make them look like this. It's just kind of a guide of what we do that's been, I think, very effective, and hopefully you can take some things from this. Can you go back one? I'm sorry. So people over programs is something that I read a lot about in studying this, that programs are important, and what we talk about our programs are important, but the people should be the heart of those programs. So just keep that in mind when you're talking about your programs and whatever you're doing, and tell people about them, but also focus on the people. These are some things that we use on our social media that tell stories. We use Bible verses, inspirational quotes, sermon quotes, responses, or previews of the sermons coming. We feature volunteers and some members, and then photos of different church events. And then thank yous to various staff and volunteers who put a lot of work into making the church happen. I read something that said to offer inspiration instead of only information. So do tell people that you're having a dinner, or you're having a meeting, or you're doing things. But also in this time that we have to reach people the other 6 days of the week that they're not in church, offer them inspiration too. So how do you get started? Sorry, I'm gonna have to step over here a little bit. Your team and responsibilities, you need to come up if you're going to use social media with a team. And we are very blessed at CBC to have a great communications director, and I know not all churches have that. So it can be a volunteer of any kind. We've also kind of delegated responsibilities to other people. So through the week, if there's something that we can be sharing, Andy will contact somebody and say, hey, can you put something about this? Or if we're in an event or during church, he'll say, can you take a picture of this? If you see something that stands out. So just find a team. It doesn't have to be a big team. How are you sharing these stories and what platforms will you use? That's up to you. It's kind of a trial and error, and I know that that's not a helpful answer. I want to talk about, though, some that we use that hopefully you can use as a starting point. Create a schedule for what you're posting. So the points that I talked about before, the Bible verses, the quotes, the stories about volunteers, just kind of create a schedule each week of when you're going to post certain things, and things come up that are not scheduled that you can post as well. And then keep your eyes open. Just what stories are they telling about their lives that you think you could tell to change someone else's life? So one thing we use is Facebook, and I just have like I said, some visuals to show you, just to give you an idea kind of what we do. This goes to the scripture, the daily, or however often, Bible verses. We just post these, there I think are a few, just for encouragement through the week, that people can have some time in the Word, that this could direct them in some way. And I know, like I said, that we all have different access to different resources, different abilities, and not everything, we are fortunate, not everything can look professional, and it doesn't have to. The message speaks for itself, I think, but if you can do it well. Another way we have used Facebook was last summer when the flood down south, and we used it to kind of rally the community to get involved. So we used our church as a drop-off location and just advertising that, and reached a lot of people to get a lot of help to do that. And then we thanked people that brought stuff. If you're going to ask people to get involved, make sure that you recognize them later on. Not for them, but to give glory to God. And again, just telling the church and community what we were doing. Thanking volunteers. These are some of our amazing students who went down to Big Clear Creek Baptist Church and did some work. And then leading up to Sunday, we just send out encouragement. Church is tomorrow, invite your friends, or we can't wait to see you. This is a picture of our sanctuary, just letting people know that we are praying for who is filling the seats this week. And then also when we do a new sermon series, if you have a graphic or something to put on your Facebook, just to let people know what's coming, and give them some information about the sermon and what's going to be happening. These are just a couple that we've done. And then on Sundays, like I said, when we have volunteers who take pictures of just kind of different elements of the service, this is just to kind of show people, and we'll put a quote from the sermon, just something that either the pastor really wants people to take with him through the week, or something that just stuck to one of us particularly. And then if they miss the sermons, or if they want to listen to it again, if you have online, if you record your sermons, to guide people to that, to let them know that they can go back and listen to it, or they can share it with their friends if it was something that really inspired them. Instagram. Does anyone here know what Instagram? Okay, so it's an app on your phone. It's to take pictures, and it's a powerful communications and storytelling tool, I think, especially for the church. So we use it for almost the same things as Facebook, is posting inspiration. We try to post things. The one before was asking a question, what are you listening to right now? And just people can post, what worship music they're listening to or something that they've heard that week that inspires them. And it just encourages conversations. We post sometimes videos of the service, which just kind of give people an idea. This is our Easter service. Recognizing volunteers. These are two of our great greeters. And just recognizing them for what they do. Those are some of our cute kids. The one on the right, I will proudly say, is my niece. So, and these platforms too, even though you are the ones telling the story through the church page or your ABW page, encourage people that are attending to be part of that story too, to tell that story. We encourage people as they're at church, and I know it sounds funny to tell people to get on Facebook while they're sitting in the sanctuary, but to check in. There's a place on, if you have the app, that you can check in, and it lets your friends know. I'm at CBC today, and maybe that'll spark some conversation, or they'll see something like, maybe I want to check that church out. I'm sorry, can you go back one? The quotes from the sermon, we have a lot of people who will take notes and see something that inspires them, or a scripture that was read that day, and they'll post that. And again, that just creates a conversation with people in your network, people you're friends with, just to tell them the story of Jesus. And then encourage them to share posts from the church account. So the things that I showed before, the scriptures and the things, to encourage people to share those on their page and direct them to your church or group. Texting is something, we have a program, and it just depends on which one you want, so I'm not going to tell you which one to use, but we have a texting program that you can sign up as a member of the church or anybody, and you'll receive updates through the week, encouragement. We have our prayer chain goes through that, so a couple times a week we'll say, these are things to be praying for, and it's just a way to encourage the body. Another thing is there are incredible resources out there for Bible studies. I was not super familiar with a couple of these things, but I looked into it and they seemed, on the ABW website, which I know you all are familiar with, if you go to events, click one more, there is a webinar, and I think it's actually coming up this month. And this is something that you can sign up for to meet with a group. You can do it in your home, a few of you around your laptop, your iPad, hook it up to the computer to watch. And it's just a way to grow as believers and use this technology that's available to grow. I think technology is frightening and it's overwhelming, but I think it can also be an incredible tool for us to grow in our faith. One of my favorite things to use is called Right Now Media. And it is something that our church provides, and it is, if you all are familiar with like Netflix and things like that, it's kind of the Netflix of Bible studies. Every speaker, author, Christian influencer you can think of will have their Bible studies on this in videos, and this is something our life groups, our small group Bible studies, Sunday school classes use. We get together in homes and in classrooms, and we'll pick a study. I mean, there's every category imaginable. A couple more, I think, or some. And the leaders, there are leader trainings. So if you have a specific group of leaders you want to train in a specific area, then this is an incredible tool to the best leaders that you can find. Conferences, if any of you attend any conferences, Christian conferences, I know one that I went to a lot as a college student was Passion, and every session, every speaker that I was really influenced by on that is on here. So I, instead of going to Atlanta, can, sit on my couch and watch and be inspired by the incredible message that they bring. So the way our church does it, and you can do it individually or as a collective body, is there are different prices for a subscription, and all that members have to do is sign up, and they'll receive an email, and you can have access to these thousands and thousands of videos. And it's really, I think, grown a lot of us. Those are some of the prices. They're on the website that you can look at just to get an idea. These are, I went like I said, there's every topic that you can think of. And I went to women just to see what some of them were. There's some great teachers, Shauna Nyquist, Lisa Harper, and those are just some of the thousands. And even through the women's just specific ones. Like I said, Louis Giglio is one of my favorite pastors, and there are dozens and dozens of his sermons and studies. There's things for kids. If any of you are involved with children's ministry or have kids, or just like VeggieTales, you can watch these. That's okay. So that might be the end. So one of the ways, something else, if you're not able to watch these in a group physically together, you can have a group of 3 or 4 people and say, hey, let's this month study, pick one. And you can watch it in your own homes, and you don't have to get together, or you can. And there are some ways, if you can't get together physically, if you're familiar with Skype, you can get together with a few people and video chat with each other, and either while you're watching it or later, just to discuss it, what you've learned, and sharing that with your group. There's also, Google has a program called Google Hangouts, and it's similar that you can talk to people about what you do. Our life group there's an app called GroupMe, and it's a texting app. So through the week, we'll talk about kind of what we learned and encourage each other, and send things. So there's lots of resources, and I haven't passed them out, but a list of some links to websites that I think are helpful with communications if you want some of the things I mentioned, and some others. Let's see. So again, this is just a starting point to how we can communicate with others. I do believe that we have the greatest story to tell, and we have incredible resources and ways to tell that story, to stretch our influence in ways that maybe we couldn't before. So I hope that you will check some of these things out. If you have any questions, please let me know. There's also, I want to link you to a local resource. It's called Social Media for Churches. It's a Facebook page. It's actually done by someone in the state. I don't know if he wants me to say who it is or not, but he does incredible work and can chat with you about kind of getting you started and help you with some things, to give you some resources to do that. So I will be around today if anyone has any questions. I know this is kind of a lot, and there's a lot more, so thank you guys very much.